So here we are. I'll just continue now with this second piece. Why I wanted to sit and talk about meditation in the first place was lately I've been hearing a lot of people ask me, "Oh, you meditate? For how long? How long do you meditate? How can you do that? How can you meditate for so long?" And I ask them, "Well, what do you mean?" And they say, "Well, I can't meditate." And I say, "You can't meditate? What does that mean?" And they'll tell me, "Well, when I sit down and I start to meditate, all I do is think about things. I'm just thinking about my day, my life, what I've done, what I haven't done, what I need to do, if I'm hungry or whether I'm not, or all of the things." And if you just track in the mind for a few moments, you'll just start to feel and hear all of the things that go on in the head. There's so many things. And so they'll tell me, "I can't meditate. There's no way I can meditate. Every time I sit down to meditate, all I do is think about other things." And I said, "Oh, okay. So who's to say that that's not part of meditation?" And they kind of give me a look of kind of confusion and questioning. And they'll tell me, "What do you mean? You mean that thinking is part of meditation?" And I'll say, "Well, we have to start someplace. We have to start wherever we are. So we sit, or whatever we do, however we sit, we lie down. We'll stay with sitting for the moment. We'll sit in a position that's comfortable for us, with our spine ideally straight. And we'll sit and say, my intention is to meditate. My intention is to still the mind and be present." And then as soon as we sit and say that, and we get there, we may get 1 or 2 moments that are stillness or presence, and then the mind is running here and here and here and there, up and down and all around. It just keeps going. I mean, the mind just will keep going. So what I'll suggest is sitting, not worrying about all the thoughts. Just sit there for intend 5 minutes. When you're beginning your journey, 5 minutes is all you need. 5 minutes in the morning. If you can apply another 5 minutes at night, great. Or 5 minutes sometime in your day. And if you can make it a regular time, then make it a regular time. But then when you sit, just know that the mind is going to want to have its way, and the ego is going to want to ramble from here to there, and it's not going to want to be still. So that's the beginning of your practice. Your practice, your meditation practice, or our meditation practice in the beginning, and maybe for several years, is going to be just the mind running around. So you sit there with the intention of stillness, and then the mind runs around. So then what you start to practice is, oh, okay, it's okay that the mind is running around. This is part of the journey of moving inward, is that we have to sift through. The meditation, the practice, is an energetic sifting through of all of the craziness of the mind. So it's just starting to weed out little by little all of these thoughts. And as you practice more energetic, powerful meditations and visualizations and mantras, it may bring up more and more thoughts, more and more stuff. And what it's doing is, as the mystics will say, is it's cleansing the mind. It's cleansing the mind of all of these radical thoughts, random thoughts, crazy thoughts that have been going on there for year after year after decade after decade. So we sit with the intention of meditation as a cleansing process or a project. It's a cleansing project. We are cleaning the mind, and that takes time. So you sit. You attempt to be still. You notice when you judge you're being still. You notice when the mind is running away. You notice the whole 5 minutes you intended to be still and quiet the whole time, but all the mind did is run away. And then you notice the mind wanting to judge yourself for not being able to do it correctly. There is no way it can be done correctly. Just let it be what it is. And at some point you catch yourself and go, oh, my mind's been running away. I'm judging myself for judging myself for judging myself for judging myself. And now I finally caught myself judging myself for judging myself for judging myself. And now I'm just going to be accepting, loving of the process that I just seemingly, the mind or the ego is judging that I blew it. But ultimately what I did is I just caught myself of judging myself at some point. So you've hit a spot where you've caught it all and were able to actually stop it. So in that moment of catching all of the judgments of the judgments and all of the craziness of the craziness, then just still for a moment. And if you stare at whatever, just then try to do it with the eyes open maybe. Instead of the eyes closed, stare at something, one point, and just be present with it. Just be present with me while I'm here. And there it is. That's all it is. And so it may go on for many, 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 many moons before you actually have an elongated moment of stillness, or moments of stillness, of communion, of connection with that stillness. And that's the practice. This is a practice of, if you are attempting to achieve a goal like you have with everything else in your life in the physical world, this is an opportunity to achieve it without trying to do anything. There's no achieving to be done. We already are stillness. We already are enlightened. We already are peace. We already are love, joy. It's just a simple remembering now. And just noticing when we step off of that remembering, when we step off of that judging, when we step off and begin to judge. And as you can tell, here in nature, there's not so many more other influences of chaos around, so it's so much easier to be still. But most of us do not have that luxury to be still in the midst of nature, so we must ultimately learn how to be still in the midst of the city, of the chaos, of all of the obligations, the duties, the demands that we have in a day. And the invitation is simply to sit and notice. So I'll invite this last little piece in because it's important. Is the little mind is the one that's running, the one that's going through all of these thoughts. And so if we can influence and intend the higher mind to come in, it's kind of like the cobra head coming up above and watching and looking down at that little mind and just observing the chaos and the running of the little mind. So you can have two parts of the mind present at once. This cobra of awareness, just watching the spinning, the running, the mouse mind. And it just watches. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't try to stop it or quash it. It just observes. And so if you can start to just even create that separation and watch. And then at times a cobra will come back in and merge and seemingly merge with the little mind. And you'll go crazy like this. But then you'll catch and then you'll just come back above. And this will continue to go like this. And you'll watch. And as this realizes it's being watched, it may still. And then it'll go again and try to get you back involved. And you may come back here again and again and again. And then you'll catch yourself. And then watch. And this, as this goes through this more and more chaos, it'll come to a still point, or it'll try to pull you back in. And it's just that continued practice. And as you go here, then the opportunity is to come back. And it'll try to pull you back in. And you may choose, consciously or unconsciously, go back into that thought and go on the story for however long. And then at some point in that 5 minutes or 5 days later, you'll catch yourself. And then you come back here and watch. And maybe this will continue to move, or maybe it'll still. And then there'll be these longer gaps of stillness.